Yeah, seems like we're more likely to be using, uh, agents in more limited capacities and in closed boxes, and to be collecting call it libraries or catalogs of agents, which brings me to the next announcement that we also noticed this in the past week. It's been a busy week for AI announcements, but we saw Microsoft release AutoGen version zero point 0.4 this week, which really got your attention. I know, Charles. I'm curious what you saw there.
Well, as you know, and I think I'm finally be able to announce sort of the changes that are going on in my career and life here in a minute. But I've been very, very focused on agentic AI in the enterprise, and so this is an area I've been watching very carefully. And what I think there's two parts, right? So first, the evolution of thought around this entire space, which is part of what AutoGen represents. And so I guess I'll start there. And then it speaks to Microsoft's strategy as well, which I think is also interesting from sort of an industry perspective. But AutoGen is basically an agentic AI framework. It competes with the likes of LangFlow and CrewAI. And basically, if you're familiar with the underlying concepts of agentic AI, you have this process of an agentic orchestrator that takes the initial request and then hands it off, parses it, figures out, hands it off to other agents that are purpose built for a specific action or function to then go and do a search or take an action or do whatever they're doing, come back to the orchestrator and do it. But there's a handful of challenges with that. That sounds very simple in concept, but the orchestrator agent has to understand the tools that it has to work with and be able to do that, hand that off. And then it can be if it functions in a linear fashion, it can be very, very slow. So these reasoning systems we're always looking at how can we speed that up, either by taking concurrent action or by caching prompts and caching data or doing these different things. And so AutoGen 4.0.4 is a step towards improving that process and building out a framework model that allows whoever, developers, to start building on top of it. And so, that's what this is. And it sort of underpins or sits below the level of where like their Copilot Studio would be. This is very developer focused, and it's very much a building block framework. But it's interesting to play. So I have a take on what this means for Microsoft, but I'll pause there and kind of get your reaction to this entire space as it's developing.
Yeah, this is where agentic AI gets exciting for me, because the idea of being able to do multi-agent orchestration and being able to handle these handoffs more easily is where we actually get to create something that approximates logic. I am amused that this is being called an event-driven architecture, simply because it brings so many bad memories back from a couple decades ago. But
all that is old is new again.
yes. But that said, thinking of events as the outcomes of agents rather than more specific transactional events, it's not a wrong label. It's just a one fraught with many flashbacks.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think I mean, there's lots of interesting gaps around it. The thing going back to the challenges that, for instance, we were just talking about with Operator, what this framework and frameworks like it, like I said, they're not the only ones that are playing in this space, right? The frameworks like this, what they do fundamentally is they allow you to create this contextual layer where you can now ingest a layer of metadata that allows you to understand the environment and to solve for the exact problems the operator is having, right? I'm not using a browser and hoping I can figure it out. I'm creating those relationships at a digital level, so to speak, and I'm able to then handle and let the agents go and take action. So that's where I think it's interesting, and that's why I think we're going to see the first real efforts succeed in the enterprise space, because I can create this closed loop environment where I know the parameters on which I'm operating, and therefore I can control the action, and it's not just sort of the wild west. What I think is interesting, the part from an industry perspective, is it is fascinating to me to see that Microsoft is sort of like at a craps table. And basically, because if you play craps is one of these interesting gambling games where every single roll you can win, right? You can bet on anything. you can bet on winning, bet on losing, bet on, crapping out, whatever. So any role you can win if you have the bet placed the right way.
Right.
And so, there's this theory when it comes to craps, if you come and you bet the table, that you'll come out ahead. And I sort of feel that's what Microsoft is doing. They're betting the table here, right? They have the entire Copilot lineup at the Office 365, so the high, borderline consumer layer, right? What I call generic productivity. They have Copilot Studio, right, which is an agentic framework or built around, similar to what Agentforce is doing, allowing people in a much more drag and drop conversational kind of layer build somewhat simplistic agents. To get more robust agents, you need to have understanding of data architecture and data flow, but that's there. And then keep going down, they have now this, AutoGen, which is now an actual agentic framework, very developer focused, all the way down to their infrastructure level with Azure OpenAI, and now I think it's 100 different tuned models that they have for different things. So it's like this entire end-to-end stack. They've got something everywhere, and it's really, really interesting to see how they are playing. And I don't know if this is this idea that they can truly compete and win in all of these areas, or if they are just trying to bet across the board and see what sticks. But it is, I think they're unique in this way, that they are playing across so many dimensions of the AI stack. It is quite fascinating.
Yes, they are I would go as far to say they are the only vendor right now that is trying to control the entire AI stack from top to bottom. Nobody else is actually trying to take on all of it, because it is incredibly immense, and it's difficult to succeed across everything from infrastructure to applications to data and AI orchestration. Like it's not easy, and there are going to be a lot of winners within each one of these spaces. But Microsoft wants to take them all on.
So you think they're going to win? You think they can compete across all these different levels?
No. The quick answer is no, but at least Microsoft will have an entire stack available for any CIO who wants to put all of their money into Microsoft and not have to deal with additional vendors.
I do think so. Unlike, say, like someone like Google, who has a history of abandoning stuff, Microsoft doesn't really do that, and so I think it makes those bets a little bit safer. But I do think, as a CIO, it does point to an interesting question, right? If you simply betting on the entire Microsoft end-to-end stack, probably puts you to a point where you're not getting best of breed, or at least eventually
Yes.
won't be getting best
That's
of
what I
breed.
mean. Like some of these will be really great services, and some of these will be like Microsoft Dynamics. It's like, it's a Me Too product, and you're buying it because of all the other stuff you can get along with it.